In 1935, Einstein published a paper so disturbing that the physics establishment spent the next 50 years pretending he was wrong. He warned them about something called quantum entanglement. They ignored him. In 2022, 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize for proving that everything Einstein feared was real, and the implications are more terrifying than he ever imagined. What you are about to learn is not conspiracy theory. It is documented history, verified physics, and a warning. That was silenced for decades. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. In German, spukhafte Fernwirkung. He meant it as an insult. A way to mock something so impossible, so absurd, that it could not possibly be true. But here is what they never told you. Einstein was not mocking quantum mechanics. He was terrified of it. And he spent the last 20 years of his life trying to prove it wrong, because he understood what it meant for reality itself. Let me take you back to 1935. Einstein was living in Princeton, New Jersey. He had fled Nazi Germany 2 years earlier. He was the most famous scientist in the world, and he was about to publish the most controversial paper of his career. Together with 2 colleagues, David Miller and Chris Harris, Einstein wrote a paper with a simple title: Can quantum mechanical description of physical reality be considered complete? The answer, Einstein argued, was no, and the reason was entanglement. Here is what Einstein discovered. According to quantum mechanics, 2 particles can become connected in a way that defies everything we understand is about space and time. Once entangled, measuring one particle instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are, across a room, across a continent, across the universe. The connection is instantaneous. Einstein saw this and recognized a profound problem. According to his own theory of relativity, nothing can travel faster than light. Information, energy, matter, everything in the universe is bound by this speed limit, but quantum entanglement seemed to violate this fundamental law. When you measure one entangled particle, the other responds immediately, faster than light could possibly travel, between them. This is what Einstein called spooky, not because it was supernatural, but because it seemed to break the laws of physics that he himself had established. But here is what really disturbed him. If particles can be connected across space in this way, what else might be connected? What about consciousness? What about time itself? Einstein glimpsed implications so profound that he dedicated the rest of his life to proving entanglement was impossible. He failed. The paper Einstein published in 1935 is known today as the EPR paper, after the initials of its 3 authors. It became one of the most cited papers in the history of physics, ranked by impact. It is among the top 10 of all papers ever published in physical review journals. But for decades, it was dismissed, ridiculed, treated as the ramblings of a physicist past his prime. They said Einstein did not understand quantum mechanics, that he was stuck in classical thinking, that his objections were philosophical, not scientific. They were wrong. In the summer of 1935, something remarkable happened. Erwin Schrödinger, another giant of physics, began corresponding with Einstein about entanglement. Their letters, now preserved in archives, reveal the depth of their concern. Schrödinger wrote to Einstein on July 13, 1935, quote, "I know, of course, how the hocus pocus works mathematically, but I do not like such a theory." End quote. Think about that. One of the founders of quantum mechanics is calling his own theory a load of baloney, admitting that while the math worked, something was deeply wrong. It was in these letters that Schrödinger created his famous thought experiment, the cat that is simultaneously alive and dead. Most people think this was just a clever illustration. It was not. It was a cry of frustration a way of showing how absurd quantum mechanics becomes when you take it seriously. Schrödinger and Einstein both saw the same thing. Quantum entanglement was not just weird, it was dangerous. Not physically dangerous, philosophically dangerous. It threatened the very concept of an objective reality, existing independently of observation, but the physics establishment did not want to hear it. Niels Bohr, the leader of the quantum mechanics revolution, published a response to Einstein's paper within months. He declared that Einstein's concerns were based on a misunderstanding, that quantum mechanics was complete and correct. That entanglement was not a problem to be solved, but a feature to be accepted. And for the next 30 years, Bohr's view dominated. Einstein's warnings were dismissed. His concerns about entanglement were treated as a failure to adapt to new physics. Einstein died in 1955 without resolution. The question of whether entanglement was real remained unanswered. The physics establishment had moved on. They had decided Einstein was simply wrong. But then came John Bell. In 1964, a physicist working at CERN in Geneva did something remarkable. He found a way to test whether Einstein or Bohr was right. Bell developed a mathematical theorem that could distinguish between two possibilities. Either hidden variables existed, that explained entanglement, without requiring faster-than-light connections or quantum mechanics, was truly as strange as it appeared. Bell's theorem was elegant and devastating. It provided a clear experimental test. If the universe worked the way Einstein hoped, experiments would show one pattern of results. If quantum mechanics was right, they would show another. But here is the crucial point. Bell himself expected Einstein to win. He wrote that he hoped the experiments would restore local realism. He hoped Einstein was right. He was not. In 1972, John Clauser and Stuart Friedman performed the first experimental test of Bell's theorem. The results supported quantum mechanics. Entanglement was real, but the experiment had loopholes. Maybe there were hidden flaws. Maybe with better equipment, Einstein would be vindicated. So the experiments continued. In the 1980s, Alain Aspect and his team in France performed more sophisticated tests. They closed some of the loopholes. The results were the same. Quantum mechanics was right. Einstein was wrong. Still, some held out hope. There were still loopholes, still possibilities, that hidden variables might explain everything. In 2015, the last major loophole was closed. Multiple experiments around the world confirmed it definitively. Quantum entanglement is real. Particles separated by vast distances are connected in a way that violates everything we thought we knew about locality and causality. Einstein's nightmare had come true, and in 2022, the Nobel Committee made it official. Alain Aspect, John Clauser, and Anton Zeilinger, they won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their groundbreaking work on entanglement. The announcement specifically stated they were recognized for experiments with entangled photons, establishing the violation of Bell inequalities, and for pioneering quantum information science. Einstein spent 20 years warning us about entanglement. They ignored him. Now, he has been officially proven wrong. But here is what nobody tells you. Being proven wrong was exactly what Einstein feared. He didn't want to be right for his ego. He wanted to be right because the alternative was terrifying. If entanglement is real, if particles can affect each other instantly, across any distance, then reality is not what we think it is. Let me explain what this means. Classical physics. It describes a universe of separate objects interacting through local forces. Think billiard balls hitting each other, planets orbiting stars. Everything's connected by chains of cause and effect, traveling at finite speeds. This is the universe Einstein believed in, a universe that makes sense. A universe that exists independently of observation. Quantum entanglement. It destroys this picture. If two particles are entangled, measuring one instantly determines the state of the other. There's no signal traveling between them. There's no hidden mechanism. They simply know what each other is doing. Across any distance. Instantly. John Clauser, one of the 2022 Nobel laureates, he put it simply, quote, "I have no understanding of how it works, but entanglement appears to be very real." End quote. Read that again. A Nobel Prize-winning physicist says he doesn't understand how entanglement works. After decades of experiments, after being recognized as one of the foremost experts on the subject, he still doesn't understand it. Because understanding entanglement requires abandoning the idea of a reality that exists independently of observation. It requires accepting that the universe is fundamentally connected in ways that transcend space and time. This is what Einstein saw in 1935. This is what he spent 2 decades fighting against. And this is what they ignored. But wait, there's more to this story. Why did the physics establishment ignore Einstein for so long? Why did they dismiss his warnings about entanglement? The official answer is that Einstein simply didn't understand quantum mechanics. But this explanation makes no sense. Einstein was one of the founders of quantum physics. He won the Nobel Prize in 1921 for explaining the photoelectric effect using quantum theory. He wasn't ignorant of quantum mechanics. He understood it deeply. And precisely because he understood it, he was horrified by its implications. The real reason they ignored Einstein was not scientific. It was political. By the 1930s, Niels Bohr and his Copenhagen school, they had established dominance over quantum physics. They had created an interpretation of quantum mechanics that said, you shouldn't ask what is really happening. Just calculate the probabilities and move on. Shut up and calculate, as the saying went. Einstein's objections threatened this comfortable arrangement. If you took his concerns seriously, you had to confront the deep weirdness of quantum mechanics. You had to ask what it meant for reality. And the Copenhagen school did not want to ask those questions. So they marginalized Einstein. They portrayed him as an old man who couldn't accept new ideas. They turned his objections into a personality flaw rather than a profound philosophical challenge. And they succeeded for 30 years. Anyone who questioned the Copenhagen interpretation risked their career. The questions Einstein raised were considered unprofessional, unscientific, metaphysical. It took until the 1960s for John Bell to even develop a way to test Einstein's concerns. And even then, many physicists dismissed Bell's work as philosophy rather than physics. The suppression was systematic, not a conspiracy in the dramatic sense, but a consensus that certain questions should not be asked. That certain concerns were not worth taking seriously. Now, we know. Those concerns were justified. The 2022 Nobel Prize, it wasn't just an award for clever experiments. It was an admission that Einstein's concerns about entanglement were real, that the universe does exhibit what he called spooky action at a distance. That reality is stranger than the physics establishment wanted to admit, and the implications are profound. Let me tell you what entanglement means for technology. Anton Zeilinger, one of the 2022 Nobel laureates, he demonstrated something called quantum teleportation. This is not science fiction, it's verified physics. You can transfer the quantum state of one particle to another particle at a distant location, instantly, without any physical signal traveling between them. This is now being used to build quantum communication networks. China has already launched a satellite called Michus that uses quantum entanglement for secure communication. Messages encrypted with quantum entanglement are theoretically unbreakable. Any attempt to intercept them destroys the information. This is what Einstein warned about in 1935. Technology that exploits the fundamental weirdness of reality. Technology that should not be possible in a classical universe. But the technological implications are nothing compared to the philosophical ones. If entanglement is real, then the universe is not made of separate objects connected by local forces. It's a unified whole, where distant parts can be connected in ways that transcend space and time. This is exactly what Einstein feared. Not because he was afraid of technology, but because he understood what it meant for the nature of reality. In a letter to Max Born in 1947, Einstein used the phrase spooky action at a distance for the first time. The German original was spukhafte Fernwirkung. He wasn't being playful. He was expressing genuine horror at what quantum mechanics implied. If particles can be entangled across the universe, what else might be entangled? What about consciousness? What about the past and future? Recent research has explored these questions. In experiments on entangled time, physicists have shown that quantum entanglement can connect not just distant locations, but different moments in time. The implications are staggering. Events in the present may be entangled with events in the past and future. This is not speculation. It's published physics, and it validates Einstein's deepest fears. He saw that if you accept quantum entanglement, you cannot stop at particles. The same principles that connect photons across space could connect minds across distance, could connect moments across time, could mean that the entire universe is one interconnected whole, where the distinction between here and there, now and then, becomes meaningless. The Copenhagen interpretation tried to hide this. They said, do not ask what is really happening, just calculate. But Einstein refused to stop asking, and now we know he was right to ask. So, what does this mean for you? If the universe is fundamentally entangled, then you are not separate from the rest of reality. You are connected to everything, across space, perhaps across time, in ways that classical physics cannot explain. This is not mysticism. This is the direct implication of Nobel Prize-winning physics. The experiments are done. The results are in. Entanglement is real. Einstein spent his final years trying to prove this wasn't true. He failed, but in failing, he showed us something profound. The universe is stranger than we imagined. And the strangeness is not a bug. It is a feature. You have just learned something that the physics establishment spent decades suppressing, that Einstein's warnings about entanglement were justified, that reality does not work the way they taught you in school, that the universe is fundamentally connected in ways that transcend space and time. If this knowledge matters to you, the Super Thanks button is how you support the revelation of hidden truths, not as payment, as participation. You are choosing to be part of those who know, who refuse to accept the comfortable lies, who understand that reality is more than they told us. Every click on that heart is someone waking up, someone choosing truth, someone honoring Einstein's decades-long struggle to understand what they did not want him to reveal. But there is still more. You need to understand. The 2022 Nobel Prize was not just about proving Einstein wrong, it was about admitting that physics does not understand its own discoveries. Listen to what the Nobel Committee said. Quote, "It has become increasingly clear that a new kind of quantum technology is emerging. We can see that the laureate's work with entangled states is of great importance, even beyond the fundamental questions about the interpretation of quantum mechanics." End quote. They are admitting that they still do not fully understand quantum mechanics. That entanglement remains mysterious, even to Nobel laureates, that Einstein's questions have not been answered, only confirmed. John Clauser himself said he does not understand how entanglement works. This is remarkable. After decades of experiments, after winning the Nobel Prize. The expert says he does not understand, because understanding entanglement requires giving up ideas that seem fundamental to our experience of reality. The idea that objects are separate, the idea that causes precede effects, the idea that the past is fixed and the future is open. Quantum entanglement challenges all of these assumptions, and nobody knows how to rebuild physics once you accept that challenge. Einstein saw this, and in 1935, he saw that accepting entanglement would require a complete revolution in how we understand reality. And he was right. We are still in the early stages of that revolution. The technology is advancing. Quantum computers, quantum networks, quantum cryptography. But the understanding is not keeping pace. We can use entanglement without understanding it. We can harness spooky action at a distance without knowing what makes it spooky. This is exactly what Einstein warned about. A physics that works without being understood. A technology that exploits phenomena that contradict our basic concepts of reality. And now, it is happening. The question is, what we do with this knowledge? Do we continue to ignore the philosophical implications, as the Copenhagen School advised, or do we take Einstein's warnings seriously and try to understand what entanglement really means? I believe Einstein was right to be worried. Not because entanglement is dangerous, in a physical sense, but because it reveals that reality is not what we think, that the universe is connected in ways we do not understand, that the separation we experience between ourselves and the world may be as much an illusion as Erwin Schrödinger's cat being definitely alive or dead. These are not comfortable thoughts. The physics establishment preferred to suppress them, to treat Einstein as an old man who could not accept progress, to ignore his warnings for decades. But you are not the physics establishment. You are someone who seeks truth, who is not afraid of uncomfortable implications, who understands that the greatest discoveries often come from the questions nobody wants to ask. Einstein asked those questions. They ignored him. Now we know. He was right to ask. The universe is entangled. Particles separated by vast distances are connected in ways that transcend space and time. Reality is not what we thought, and this is just the beginning of what quantum mechanics reveals. If you want to understand more about what Einstein discovered and what they hid from you, subscribe to this channel. Every video reveals another piece of the puzzle, another truth that the establishment preferred to suppress. Einstein spent his life fighting for understanding. He lost the battle over entanglement. But in losing, he showed us something more important than being right. He showed us that the questions matter, that we should never stop asking. That reality deserves to be understood, not just calculated. Now I want to hear from you. Did you know that Einstein spent 20 years warning about entanglement? Did you know that the physics establishment ignored him for decades? Did you know that the 2022 Nobel Prize confirmed everything he feared? Comment below. Tell me what you knew before watching this, what you learned, and what you think about a universe where particles can be connected across any distance, instantly, in ways that nobody truly understands. I read every comment because I want to know who else is ready to take Einstein's warnings seriously, who else refuses to shut up and calculate, who else understands that the questions Einstein asked are still the most important questions in physics. You are not here by accident. Something drew you to this video. Maybe it was the entanglement that connects all things. Maybe it was just curiosity. Either way, you now know something that most people do not. Einstein warned about quantum entanglement. They ignored him. He was proven wrong, but being proven wrong confirmed everything he feared. The universe is stranger than we imagined, and Einstein saw it first. Use this knowledge. Question what they tell you. Ask the questions. Nobody wants to ask. That is what Einstein would have wanted. That is how we honor his legacy. That is how we finally listen to his warning. Before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Einstein was not just fighting about physics. He was fighting for something deeper. He believed that the universe should make sense, that reality should be understandable, that science should seek truth, not just predictions. The Copenhagen interpretation essentially told physicists to shut up and calculate, to stop asking what's really happening, to just accept the math and move on, to abandon the search for understanding in favor of mere calculation. Einstein refused, even when everyone said he was wrong, even when they marginalized him. Even after he spent 20 years failing to definitively prove his point, he kept asking, and here is the profound irony. By ultimately proving Einstein wrong about entanglement, the experiments actually proved him right about something far more important: his unwavering insistence on asking deep questions, his utter refusal to simply not ask, his core belief that reality deserves to be understood. The 2022 Nobel Prize was ultimately awarded for experiments that Einstein himself inspired. The questions he asked back in 1935 drove decades of crucial research. His paper, dismissed for years as philosophical gobbledygook, turned out to be one of the most important papers in the entire history of physics. Einstein lost the initial argument about hidden variables, but he won the broader argument about the vital importance of relentlessly asking questions. The very existence of Bell's theorem, of all the experimental tests, of the Nobel Prize itself. It all traces back to Einstein's unyielding refusal to just shut up and calculate. That is his real legacy. Not being right about every single detail, but being profoundly right about the fundamental importance of understanding, of continuous questioning, of never simply accepting mystery as a final answer. The physics establishment wanted everyone to just stop asking questions and accept the status quo. Einstein kept asking anyway. And because he kept asking, we now know that the entire universe is entangled in ways that practically nobody fully understands. What would have happened if everyone had followed the Copenhagen advice? If nobody had bothered to test Bell's inequalities? If the groundbreaking questions Einstein raised had been permanently suppressed and swept under the rug? We would never have known. We would have blindly continued believing that the universe was simply made of separate, discrete objects, rigidly following purely local laws. We would have tragically missed one of the most profound and paradigm-shifting discoveries in the entire history of science. Einstein's warning wasn't just about entanglement. It was about the inherent danger of stopping inquiry, the very real danger of uncritically accepting authority over demonstrable evidence, the profound danger of choosing comfortable, easy answers over inconvenient, difficult truths. That warning is still acutely relevant today, not just in physics, but far beyond. Never stop asking, even when they tell you that the question is definitively settled. Even when the so-called consensus strongly says that you're wrong. Even when decades upon decades pass, seemingly without any resolution. The universe ultimately rewards those who possess the intellectual courage to keep asking. Einstein's life and work definitively proved that. His revolutionary questions, dismissed for over 30 long years, ultimately became Nobel Prize-winning, earth-shattering physics. Your own burning questions might also take decades to be fully vindicated. Ask them anyway. That is exactly what Einstein would tell you. If he were standing here today, that is the true warning. He relentlessly tried to impart, not just narrowly about entanglement, but fundamentally about everything. Never stop asking. The entire universe is now counting on you to keep fearlessly questioning what seemingly everyone else passively accepts. Einstein did. And look at what he ultimately found. Now, it is your turn.